Hello, children. Good morning. Welcome back once again to this new session. In we were discussing about evolution. In our previous class, we have discussed about what is the definition of evolutionary biology, what is evolution, then how did evolution of universe takes place, that is about Big Bang theory. Then we have seen about the primitive conditions of the earth when it was created. Further, we had discussed about theories on origin of life, that is a theory of panspermia, concept of abiogenesis, concept of biogenesis, and a chemosynthetic theory of origin of life. So all this theory, they are just predictions. But what is the guarantee that this might have taken place? So with regarding to this, particularly with regarding to chemosynthetic theory of origin of life, two scientists, they have given an experimental proof. So therefore in today's class, we are going to study about experimental proof for biosynthetic or chemosynthetic theory of origin of life, which is popularly known as Miller's experiment. So this is an experiment given out or carried out by Stanley Miller and Harold Urey in 1953. So these two scientists, they have created primitive conditions in laboratory and proved that simple organic molecules can be synthesized from inorganic molecules. That is, please revisit chemosynthetic theory. The main criteria for origin of life is, that is, before biological evolution took place, chemical evolution took place. What is that meaning? That is, organic molecules were formed from inorganic molecules. That is, first simple organic molecules like sugars, then amino acids, then fatty acids, glycerol, they were formed from inorganic molecules. So this is the first point of chemosynthetic theory of evolution, and this occurred on the earth in its primitive condition, that is under reducing type of atmosphere where there was no oxygen. So in this experiment, Stanley Miller and Harold Urey created the primitive conditions of the earth in the laboratory by developing an apparatus, and through that apparatus they have tried to synthesize simple organic molecules like sugars, amino acids, and so on from inorganic molecules like methane, hydrogen, ammonia, water vapor. So let us see how this experiment has been done. So now let us move on to this experiment, Miller's experiment. So this is the diagrammatic representation of Miller's experiment, and this device is called as Miller's discharge apparatus. So this Miller's discharge apparatus consists of four important components. One is boiling tube which contains water connected to an electric foil. Second, it contains spark discharge where two tungsten electrodes have been inserted. Then third thing is, it contains condenser where water, cold water is allowed to circulate through this. And fourth one is the U-trap where the contents, final products of the experiments are collected. And these four devices are connected by a glass tube, and towards the one end of the glass tube you can see it is connected to vacuum pump. So this diagram is very important. So remember, this diagram will be compulsorily asked in your exam. And the most common error students are going to do here is, you can see the glass tube is connected to vacuum pump. So while labeling this, you have to write the word to vacuum pump, but most of you will write just vacuum pump. So remember that this is not vacuum pump. This is the side tube which will be connected to vacuum pump. Why this is connected, I'll tell you now. See now, this is the Miller's experiment device or Miller's discharge apparatus. Miller, what he did was, by connecting to vacuum pump, he removed all the oxygen present in that. thereby reducing atmosphere. That is an environment without oxygen. So that is what we call primitive atmosphere. So now let us move on to this experimental procedure what Miller has done. So Miller, he created an electric discharge in a closed flask containing methane, hydrogen, ammonia and water vapor at 800 degrees Celsius. So therefore that is after developing discharge apparatus, Miller evacuated, or that is he removed oxygen using vacuum pump. Then he filled that apparatus with inorganic materials like methane, hydrogen, ammonia, and water was poured into that boiling chamber where it was maintained at 800 degrees Celsius. So now when this water boiled, it produced water vapor. And as water vapor started circulating, this carried the remaining gases from through the side tube to the discharge chamber. So therefore, now in the discharge chamber, what happened? The two tungsten electrodes which were kept, they were contracted, so that produced spark. That was similar to the energy provided by lightning and thunder at the previous condition. So now this gases along with water vapor, when it entered into spark discharge chamber, and when the spark was produced, it was exposed to high energy. So therefore the what we can call molecules of this methane, hydrogen, ammonia and water vapor, they were exposed to high temperature. So might be they have collided, they have broken, whatever might think have happened. And further after this content was passed through condenser where water was passed on. So therefore what happened, after exposing to a high temperature, when you pass the material through cooling chamber, they get attracted. So therefore they combined in different combination, and ultimately that products was collected in U-trap. So this experiment was done for about a week by providing the raw materials as and when required. So after the experiment, when he tried to analyze the content present in U-trap, he observed that there was formation of amino acids. So this was Miller's experiment. The same type of experiment was done by others, where they also could observe formation of sugars, nitrogen bases, pigments and fat. That is from inorganic compounds. This simple organic compounds like sugar, nitrogen base, that is the nucleosides or nucleotides, pigments, fats were formed. Further, what happened? The other scientists, when they compared this experimental procedure with the reaction occurring in meteoroids present in space, they could observe that similar compounds were formed even in the meteoroids in outer space. So therefore, this experiment provided a clear-cut evidence that before biological evolution, chemical evolution has taken place, and this is the procedure what has happened, or this is the way how organic compounds were formed from inorganic compounds. Hence, with this experiment, we can tell that theory of chemical evolution of origin of life is perfect, or it is known to be accepted. So this is with regarding to Miller's experiment. So about Miller's experiment, only first 2 points explained. Other 3 points, they are giving evidence even to Miller's experiment. So therefore these are the 5 points with the diagram which you have to explain. So this is with regarding to Miller's experiment, a very important concept. So that is with regarding to origin of life. Okay, so now in the next class we will be talking about evolution of life forms, a theory. Until then, goodbye.